Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everybody had a great day. Gonna go ahead and just get started. Just a sec. There we go. Cool. By watching or reading this, you're saying you understand the following. I'm not a financial advisor, and this is not trading advice. This session is solely for educational purposes. There are significant financial risks associated with options trading, and I'm not liable for your wins or losses in the market if you decide to act on this information. Let's hop right into how we ended last week on options flow. So on Friday, the top call options flow went into CRM, APP, Reddit, MSTR, and XLK. On the short side, we had NVIDIA, UNH, Tesla, CR, CRWD, US, UPST. One sec. I got to make notes. I start making notes when I sec. And for the week, we had CVNA for the top call options flow, AVGO, Meta, AMD, and Nvidia. On the short side, we had Tesla, ACN, Gold, UPST, Silver. One second, I gotta make another note. Okay, yeah. So let's look at how the week. This is just the full week. The heat map for the full week last weekend. There's a lot of red on here. A very big contrast from what we had last week with everything running up, like we talked about last weekend at at the meeting that we had a big jobs report coming up. Very important jobs report that came out Friday. A lot of people trade in these markets and they aren't really paying attention to what's going on around them. So when the rug gets pulled and you're in these positions and you don't know what's going on, it it's really it's painful, a painful feeling. So we try to be ahead of everything that's going on around here. So we were anticipating a big jobs report on Friday, and it did not disappoint. So it was a really big the we knew the jobs, we knew that unemployment was going to come in high. They were anticipating it coming in high, so it did, but it met the estimates. It was the revisions from June from June and July that really sparked. I'm sorry, from June and May and June that sparked the big controversy and that caused everything. We had really big miss. It was they added it was for we only added 73K jobs for July. That was missing the estimates already, but then it was the revisions. We had massive revisions. Like how do you miss as many jobs as they did? It was like we had one revision for June that was down by a whopping 133K jobs from that went to it went and then we had it was 147K to 14K. So that's what it was revised to. So how do you add 147K? How do you add 133,000 jobs and then revise it down to 14K jobs the next month because they wanted the market to keep going up. So they cooked the books and but it's all good. It's a lot going on with that. So the non-farm payrolls missed, the private non-farm payrolls missed, the manufacturing payrolls missed, unemployment was in line, and the average hourly earnings was a beat. But the market did not like it at all, and you saw what happened on Friday. So yeah, The person responsible for those reports was fired by Trump. So there you have it for that. And yeah, they said it was a Biden appointee and Trump got them out of there. But yeah, you see, it was some green on the board. It was still some green on the board that we had that because a lot of stocks ran up. Meta held its own for the most part. And while everything else was coming down, Meta still held up relatively well because, it ran up almost $100 for earnings. So yeah, pretty cool print for Meta. All right, let's move right along. Market talk. I think we need a little market talk today, KK. I think we need a little market talk today.
Yes, we do. It was a very, very interesting week. Um,
Yeah.
I think, you know, I I'm so glad that a lot of people do talk a lot more, than previously. We have a lot more engagement. Um, but I think that people need to take a step back and start really um locking into things in totality, because you can't just say, and I'm gonna just give an example. Like, Antoine gives the charge, you give the levels and everything on there, and you'll say, like, this is the stop loss, and that is one piece to a puzzle in my eyes from trading, because you also got to say, okay, it lost that level, but what am I trading on? Am I trading on this time frame? Am I looking at this time frame? Has it lost this level, and now should I get out right now? Am I waiting until this hour candle closes? Like, it's a lot of questions, and I think from how I've been taught, just, for me, I've always, everything for me is a checklist of the trading checklist. Like, I'm checking these things off to make sure everything's meeting, certain criteria when I'm in trades, when I'm getting in trades, when I'm exiting trades. And I think that's something that a lot of people are missing when we're trading with the group. You came, especially for these two, the UNH and the UPS this week. I mean, phenomenal trades, big profits, but a lot of people didn't get the profits because, they're it's these, they consistently are looking at, I believe, and I can't speak for everybody, but it looks like a lot of looking at smaller time frames, getting scared, not looking at the picture in totality, and then not asking the questions real time. And I think that's something that people should really work on, to just be better traders. I know that when I was first starting out, those were mistakes that I made. And that's why I wanted to talk about it, to just bring the light. Like, don't be scared to be a beginner, and say, okay, what is he saying are the beginner things that I need to do to make me a better trader? Should I really, for me, everybody knows I have laminated the trading checklist, and that's how I used to trade for every single trade. Now I know these questions, but I did that because I said, I don't know, and I'm learning, and I want to be a better trader. And then I'm going to ask if I see something, and or if I don't see something, and I want to make sure that I'm making the right decision and not missing profits, and being okay with certain profits. So, I mean, I just think those two trades were like super big, and then even after Meta, like, I know a lot of people were upset because they felt like, oh, well, why he ain't call CVNA, why he ain't do this. But I remember clearly coming in the group like, nah, we not having a meeting tomorrow, because I'm not, y'all, we not going to do none of that, because I know Antoine, and I know y'all leave him alone. He gonna go in the lab, and we gonna get this money. One thing he's gonna do is make sure we get this money. And what happened? QQQ strangle, big profits, like, and then UNH was still eating, like, so it's like balancing out. Y'all got to look at the balance out, and stop paying attention to the noise on the outside when you see this person talking about this level and that level and what they're doing. Focus on you as a beginner trader following Antoine. And when those things happen, now you can come to this meeting and talk to him about it. And he's going to elaborate, and he's going to give you more details, and just help you to grow as a trader.
No, I
But I,
appreciate you saying that because I want to go back. I was just letting you cook because it's a few things I want to go back to. You were talking about like when there are times where I don't alert a trade, but I'll provide trade ideas, and those are for traders who are more advanced that can trade on their own by looking at the price action and knows how to read market structure, knows how to find a setup on their own. And so you'll see charts where I'll say, this is the trigger for calls, or this is the trigger for puts. That doesn't, just because a trigger gets hit, that doesn't mean jump into the trade. So it's like, now that a trigger gets hit, now I'm going to look for a setup. It's like, and it was just like you get this alarm that goes off because it's an intruder. You don't just break out and start shooting. You're gonna go find the threat now, right? You're gonna go look for the threat. And so it's like now you want to go find a setup and figure out what time frame your setup is on and if that's a setup that you want to take. But some people are just jumping in the trade. So same thing with a stop loss. If I put a trade and I say, okay, this is where I'm putting, this is the trigger for calls, meaning this is, if it's above this level, then it's that's where we're triggering for calls, but I'm still looking for a setup. Same thing with a stop loss. If I have a stop loss at a certain level, I'm like, okay, cool. Let me go look and see. Just because the stop loss got hit, I teach the traders, and we talk about it literally daily, especially when we stream live, about how the market makers went down and they hunted this stop right here. So they go and hit that stop, they trigger your stop loss, and then the stock run like a bat out of hell, or it goes up and retest and triggers your stop loss and then flushes or something like that. They go get you out of the trade. So I'm looking for a setup. Just because something went up and touched something, like I'll give you, we're going to use UPS as example because UPS was one of those trades where, and I'm going to switch over to the chart because I want to do that really quickly. We get this so I can show y'all visual what I'm talking about. So yeah, so with the UPS, oh, this was a beautiful trade. This was what a beautiful trade it was. And Drew and I, we were already in UPS. So, but I showed y'all this chart. I'm gonna go to the weekly for a second so you can see it even clearer. I'm like, look at this, look at the bearish flag pattern that it's been going. It's been doing. So when it flushed down, like, okay, cool, we already in play. We already know where this is headed. So I had all the levels listed on the chart and everything. So when I alerted this trade on the live stream, because like I said, Drew and I, we were already in the trade. So I didn't alert it during the flush down. We were already in this trade and it's already forming a new flagpole. So I don't want to trade it right there. I mean, I don't want to alert the trade there. I want to alert it on a retest for a continuation to the downside, So once it calmed down, so I had a level here. So what I did was I waited for the 10:30 candle to close, and we were still on a stream together. And I told you guys, I said, well, because we were still talking about looking for an entry for everyone else. I waited for it to go back up and retest this resistance right here. That's what it did. As soon as it retested this resistance and it rejected, I alerted the trade. So yeah, so it moved a little bit. And again, like I said, where I had the stop loss. So again, the trade, we took this trade on a session hourly. So we wait for candles to close. We don't freak out and if it depend whatever time frame we took the trade on, we waiting for that candle to close before we make a move. If we are gonna, just to confirm that that's what's going on, because you will get shaken out of trades left and right. You got to trust the setup. That's what you're doing on these trades. And so we had three reasons. There's so many reasons I just say on this why it was a no go for it to be cut. Number one, we talked about the whole setup. We talked about it on the stream. Number two, look, not only did this candle go up here, yeah, it went up here and it triggered that the stop loss above this level. It went up, rejected VWAP and everything, came down here, finished as an inverse hammer, closed under the resistance, just like the other candles did. So we saw what was doing. So by the time this happened on the fifth session hourly candle, we already saw that it was bear flagging for a continuation to the downside. So it's like, every chart tells a story. You got to go out and figure out which story the chart is telling. And if you don't understand, that's a time to ask for clarification, like paraphrase what you do know or what you do understand. and we can go from there. But that was a beautiful trade. It played out. Shout out to Peter for staying in the trade. Shout out to, I think, Curly does it was in the trade still. Was a few people who stayed in that trade for a while. I mean, I think my guy James was in the trade. There's a few people that was in that trade, I believe. I think it was a lot of, it was a few other people in the trade too. Just wanted to point that out. But yeah, so that was one thing that I wanted to touch on because it's just important. And like KK said, then with the UNH trade, I told y'all to hold on to UNH. I said, listen, whatever you do, do not sell UNH. Do not sell that. Do not sell it because the thing is this. Everything is not going to be peaches and cream all the time. Everything, sometimes you're gonna, like I said, there are days when everything goes off without a hitch and everybody makes money and it's so easy and no one has anything to worry about, right? We got those days that where that happens, but then there are days where you know where you have to know what's going on. And I tell y'all this a lot. There are days where the market just did what it did, and even a caveman could have made money that day. But sometimes when you're in a trade and you have to trust the process, some people are like, well, this happened on this trade, so this happened. Like every trade is different. Every trade is different, and that's why whenever a loss takes place, I dissect it. I don't shy away from the fact that a trade was a loss. I want to understand exactly why we lost it, why the trade lost, what went wrong on it, what specifically caused the premium to dissipate or what happened. I want to know all of those things because so we can make sure that it doesn't happen that way again for us. Like you gotta learn from those mistakes, and we be breaking those down. And most of the time, I go over them, and I'm like, "Y'all got it." Everybody say yes, and then they don't got it, or it just they still be frightened on the next trade. When I'm like, I tell y'all, if one of my trades don't work out, don't be frightened. That's when you should be more encouraged. You know what I'm saying? So because I'm on a hunt. I'm on a hunt. Not revenge trading, but I'm gonna add more margin now. I'm looking. So but yeah, the UNH trade was a great trade. It was a really big trade. That contract ended up going before the market closed. That contract went all the way up to 1700. I didn't clock it at 17. I clocked it up to I think it was 16 something. That's all, and I stopped. I was done with it by then. But I told y'all not to sell it. I gave y'all the vision and the levels and everything on the trade. So I just in situations like that we gotta be careful. And then also I want y'all to just understand I could call out trade after trade after trade after trade, right? We can do that. There are times where I'll alert a trade and I'll alert another trade, but I don't feel like I don't like doing that because I want to be able to keep an eye on the trade, the full life cycle of the trade, and sometimes just putting a stop loss is not enough for the team as a whole. So I try to refrain from doing that. But also, if I'm in trades, like I said, I told y'all to hold on to UNH. That was a really big trade, and it chose a direction. It wasn't like it didn't choose a direction. This was UNH the day after earnings right here, right? So, or the day of earnings right here. It gapped down. So we already chose violence. It gapped down. It opened under one of my one of my support levels, went down, it went up, rejected it, came down, then we got a continuation the next day. So we already knew where it was going. I told y'all again not to sell it, right? So look what happened. Look what ended up happening with it. And it's still moving. I'm gonna show y'all this weekly chart on it right now. So this all of this happened last week. We took advantage of this whole move down last week. It got a little choppy. It got a little iffy at this point. But like I told you, I'd already chose a direction, and it wasn't like I listened to them earnings calls, and I listened to what the CFO was talking about specifically, and they had a lot of headwinds. They had a lot of headwinds. They missed guidance, and this was the first time. They haven't. Last quarter, they didn't give guidance. They withdrew the full year guidance. This time they gave us a a slight guide, but they still missed whatever they still missed the Q2 sorry Q3 guide. They missed that, and so yeah, it's just they said they don't believe that things are going to start turning around until 2027. So they missed and they got it down. So it just wasn't all it wasn't good all the way around. And this was one of those quarters where if they would have just had a little slight beat on margins, this stock would have ran $100. It would have run $100. But yeah, but anyway, we just I don't want y'all to just listen to me and tell me y'all understand what's going on when things are going well. You know what I mean? So it's like when that's where the real character comes from when things aren't going well, and then if you freak out when things get hard, and now you don't want to listen. You jumping out of trades. You aren't really saying anything. You're pouting. You know, I'm like that's your character. That's your trading personality. You know what I mean? And it's not a good look. It makes you because you got to think about it. Trading is 90% psychological, so you got to get your mind right. I know what I'm doing. Everything, like I said, even during the storms when things aren't going well, I don't. It don't change who I am as a trader. It doesn't change me reinforcing what we're doing around here. So sometimes I'll take a step back. I'm like, oh, nah, you know, I got my rules that I follow. If I have to cut two trades in a row, I'm like, I'm gonna take a step back and I'm gonna come back with fresh eyes. I'm not doing it, right? It's just something's not working right now. I'm not trading on low volume days. I don't care who don't like that. I'm not trading when the market hasn't chosen a direction and it's choppy. I don't want to trade on those days. So, you know, we have our things in place, and and we have a lot of things in place that we follow around here, and we always end every month with a lot of money, you know, every single month. Even if the month starts off rocky, we still end the month with a net profit. And like I said, I was looking the other day, I'm like, man, we haven't had a month where, and Lord, no, I don't know how long that we cleared less than over four bands and and net profits by just grabbing one contract per trade alert. One contract. You don't have to grab a lot of contracts around here to make money. You can grab one contract to make money around here. So if you just follow this process and just stop, I'm just letting the new people know, because a lot of people know this who's here, but we got a lot of new people here. Just trust this process, right? And just because something doesn't work out, like I said, there'll be times where I am going to alert some YOLO lotto risky trades, and I'm going to label them as such, and I'm going to give you all of the risks. Sometimes I'm going to scare you out of even taking the trade. That's my favorite thing to do when it's a risky trade. I'm going to let you know, like, look, this is a risky trade. The IV, you can get IV crushed on this trade. The Vega exposure, look at the Vega exposure. They're going to cut that in half, and your premium going to get cut in half. You can lose everything on this trade if you take this trade. But the risk to reward ratio on this one is, but I'm gonna let you know, you can just, some people don't take those trades at all. But then I got trades that I alert, just regular trades that, we got more control over those trades, and we could, something doesn't look right, we can back out of it. If we can get out of it anytime we want. And we've been doing pretty good around here. So just if you just because you're a trader, it's got to be a plan or a system to everything. This has been my full-time job for 5 years, right? Like no company, no working for no company or anything. Just been doing the market. So I figured out a system that works. That you got to trade like a business, because anybody, think about it like this: you can have a series of losses, and then somebody would come in. Let's say you lost $500 Monday, you lost $500 Tuesday, you lost $500 Wednesday, and then you get an $800 win or $1,000 win on Thursday. And so now in your mind, you winning again. Like you still you get a net loss of $500 for the week. You know what I'm saying? But people forget those things in their heads, and they forget that they're losses, and then or they'll come in for a little while and make a big win, but they only come in once in a while and hit those wins. They don't come in often with those wins. We're winning every week. We're getting a net profit every single week, trading like a business. So when we end every month with a net profit, so a nice net profit, that's people's salaries. We over 40 bands on the year, from one contract per trade alert, right? So, and net profit. So the thing is, when you're trading like a business, you're putting money aside. You're not trading with money that you can't afford to lose. You're not trading with more than 20% of your total available cash to trade, and you're growing this account. You're not just in here trying to forget about the loss because you got to win. No, you still got a net loss. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to We had net profits around here, and I'm doing this a certain way because I want everybody to win. I want everybody who wants to do that. Everybody, not everybody wants to fire their job. Not everybody wants to just work for themselves or just be financially free to the point like being wealth is the amount of days that you can live without having to work or bring in any income, right? So and it's like so if you're looking for that, if you're looking for that extra money where you don't have to work overtime, where you can just take a vacation, where you can go to work with confidence and you don't have to let your boss talk smack to you because you know you got that nest egg or that money built up where you don't really need that job. You know, that's comfortability. You can still that's something that's good to have, right? So that's what we building around here. And the proof is in the profits. Like I said, if you sit here, if you follow the process, like I said, there's gonna be some times where we're gonna cut a trade and I don't fight it, cut it. It's gonna be times where I'm gonna tell you, like, listen, I know you don't like the way this looks right now, but look, trust me on this. Don't cut that trade, follow the process. And if you're in there, if you're following this process to the point where you aren't trading with more than 20% of your total available cash to trade, that means if you die, you got four more lives left, right? Because you're gonna die sometimes. Like people be walking around like, oh yeah, oh you don't miss, we don't miss. Oh no, we gonna miss. And I trade like that. You know, people say, well, you confident or whatever. No, I'm humble though, because I know that we can lose. So I'm never gonna put that much money up where I'm gonna have a headache if I lose it. You know what I'm saying? I'm never gonna put so much money up where I'm married to this trade where I can't cut it because like, damn, I got too much money in it. I can't cut it. Or if I'm gonna get startled with one little pullback or something. I'm like, if you're feeling like that, if when a trade pulls back or you know something, a retest happens and you get startled or flustered, or you're jumpy and fidgety, you got too much money on the table. That's what that means. You're in over your head. You can't be comfortable and confident in a trade when you got too much money on the line. So, you know, just go in there the right way with the right attitude. And if and we fear the unknown. So if you're fearing, you're scared of a lot of things, it's because you don't know what's going on. We got documentation. The most important documents that I can tell people, especially new people, when you come in here, you know, you automatically get a DM that tell you to start here. You automatically get tagged in a post that adds your name and it tells you to start here, tells you where to go, right? And the most important documents to me are like KK said, that trading checklist and that trading Bible. The trading Bible is more theory, just going to give you like the rules of the streets, you know, like look both ways before you cross the street. You know, if an officer pull you over, do what they tell you to do. Don't yell at them. Don't do this. If don't ride down this street at night. You know, that's what the trading Bible does. It gives you all of the do's and don'ts that we've learned over the years that's going to protect you in this market. And if you skip it, you're gonna miss out on a lot of things. I had somebody the other day. It was a big trade and they got out of the trade. And you know, and I feel like there's a lot of things that if they just like, damn, y'all skipping these levels. The trading Bible, the trading the start here is your prerequisites, right? If you if when you skip the levels, you're gonna get stuck somewhere else. You know, like I always use the analogy of the that textbook that you get in elementary school that got the adding and subtracting, and then it got the multiplication and then the fractions and then division. People just skim through that book because they want to hurry up and move ahead, but you don't really understand the concept of adding and subtracting. So when it's time to problem solve, you're going to be stuck because you skip through that section. You can say you read it, but you didn't interpret it, you didn't comprehend it. You know what I mean? So and that's what happens a lot with support and resistance around here and understanding market structure and understanding like, damn, yeah, it did hit the trigger for calls, but what does that mean? You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of that goes into it, and you got to be okay with understanding. Like, damn, I don't know this that well, but it's a system over here that actually works. Let me trade my level. Let me ask these questions. Like I said, I don't care if you ask me the same question over and over again, and I keep referring you to a certain portion of the trading Bible or whatever. Like, this is today is Sunday. The market doesn't open until tomorrow, and tomorrow is indecision Monday. So it's a big possibility that we don't even trade tomorrow. After if we trade power hour, I mean, I'm not. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. I feel like after the market dropped the way it did, and we're gonna get the charts in a second. That it's gonna be it's gonna be some trade setups for tomorrow. I'm actually excited about tomorrow. But but I just want the team, I want everybody to win. I want all of us to win, but y'all gotta get out of your own way. And the new people that are here, shout out to y'all. Listen, you here, we start, this is a new month and we got a fresh start. And so if you didn't finish last month green, you got a chance to finish this month green. You know what I'm saying? You got a chance to finish this month green. So And yeah, there's just a lot. It's a lot going on. But yeah, so I see someone asked a question. They said, can you unmute? So yeah, but because I mean, you could type if you got questions, you could type them in the community. But like, there's a welcome video in the start here section that I kind of go over everything. So before any questions that you do have, if it's about the community, I will watch the start here video, the intro video first to make sure that your question isn't answered there. So just so you can start off on the right foot, and then I can answer any questions that you have. Excuse me. But yeah, because I got it's a lot. It's a lot. The market is not going to always be friendly. It's not going to be easy all the time, but it can be lucrative, and that's what we hear. We got a consistent track record. Like I said, even through the 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 bad times in the market or whatever, we find a way to. But it's okay to take a step back and not trade at all. Cash is a position, so let's just. I don't know what's going to happen in August, but I know it's going to be a big month. We have some very big um, events or catalysts that I'm looking forward to later on and stuff like that. And so, if anybody who has questions about the community or something like that, if you can unmute, that'll be great. If you can't unmute, you could type it in the actual community in the chat or whatever. So in the actual group in the Discord, and we could talk about that. So we have to, like I said, we have, what you have to do in here. Like I would watch the video in the start here section because I kind of cover everything in the start here section. Um, KK, did you have anything you want to add to that? Because I mean, I see the questions, so I do. I mean, since it's asked in here, do you have anything you want to add to that? Because from a trading perspective.
I mean, from a group perspective, I'm gonna say I'm assuming she didn't watch the video. Um, but uh, what is it? But what are the guidelines on taking profit? I mean, if you can hear, I guess you can hear me. The Antoine is updating the trades consistently throughout the day. If you see, um, he'll say, you know, it's at 150% for a $500 profit. When you see things like that, that's when he's taking profit. That's when you should be taking profit. Um, so I would that would probably pretty much answer that question.
Yeah, I mean, and that's definitely in the video. So like I said, like I'm gonna say my for me personally, my biggest pet peeve for everybody in this community is not watching the video. You know what I'm saying? First, because I took my time out there to do that video so that way y'all would know what to do. That's your orientation. It's like, so it's like you start working for this company and you came to, I tell you where his orientation, you got to go to this orientation. And then you come up to the manager and say, well, where do I enter my timesheet? I'm like, she didn't do the orientation. So you know, I had a job not continue with me one time years ago because I took too long to handle something that I was supposed to handle. And they said, well, if it's taking you this long to do something so simple, it's probably going to take you longer on projects and stuff like that. So we not going like so it's just like the little things like that. So just take look at this like a real job because I mean you make gonna make money like a real job. You're gonna because everybody's so ready to jump into a trade. But like when y'all ask me questions where to take profits, like most of the time when I alert a trade, I already charted it. I already charted the trade, or how it'll be a trade idea, and then when it's ready, I'm alerting this trade, and I already got my take profit points on the chart. You know what I mean? I'm already putting the levels there and I'm feel like new traders, which is documented. I think new traders who don't know how to read charts, who aren't going to ask questions in real time during the life cycle of the trade, should be taking profit at 30%. You know what I mean? If you can't swim, you shouldn't be going. You shouldn't. I'm saying on your own. Now, if we're still in the trade and you know that we're still in the trade because you know what I mean, it's different things. But at the end of the day, like I got for every trade that I alert, for the most part, we already have a chart, an existing chart for it. I'm posting that chart as with the trade. Like for example with the with was it UNH or was it UPS, was one of those trades that we just had the recently. And so like a lot of times if I got time, I'm reposting that trade with that chart with the trade as I'm updating the profits on the trade. You know what I'm saying? So that way you can guys can see, just reinforcing the levels and stuff like that. And then we got traders in the group that are asking real time like, okay, well now James, shout out to James, UNH just took out your level. Do you have any other levels for it? I'm like, well, I told him, I said, well, James, I would, now that UNH already ran down to my next level, I wouldn't touch it until it lose 240. It lost 240. I had a few levels on the charts or whatever. And so where was it? 240, 240. So it lost 240. It came down here, hit this level, it started moving. It got back up here before the close. But I'm just saying, like, this was a big trade. It was a pretty big trade. And we had some levels where we were like, they're where they're going to defend, where bulls would defend it heavy, and I'm like, if it lose that level, it's flushing meadows, it's out of here. It lost 250 and died, so so it depends on, like, a lot of times. So when y'all ask for the take profit or whatever, like, some just you're gonna have this, it's opportunities, it's gonna be opportunities for you to take your profit, a lot of opportunities. But I feel like if you are a trader that aren't comfortable with asking questions and stuff like that, I don't want you just hanging around in a trade, and when something goes wrong, or allowing your profits to dissipate on a trade when you were up, without asking questions on that particular trade. But yeah,
But
but
like you
you'll
said, all of that is in the video.
it definitely
Everything you're
is.
explaining now is in the
Yeah.
video. So
True,
we
true,
can,
true, true. I
yeah.
don't know, but yeah, you're right. I did kind of. But yeah, so but it's like, but that's what I'm gonna tell y'all. So it's like, yeah, I'll lead you to the money, and I'm gonna help you make the money. But you gotta do the prerequisites. That's your job, to make sure you read the trading Bible, to make sure you start with that video, because it's going to show you how to navigate the community. It's going to tell you where certain stuff live and what we expect of you. Because like I said, I got expectations of you all, just like you got expectations of me. And if you follow this process, you're going to make money. But like I said, trading is psychological. So it's it's gonna get in your head, and so it's like, it's not easy. So I'm not sitting here like, yeah, you should have just held here. It's gonna get hard, but that's what you got me for. And my man, shout out to J Rock. He said to me a long time ago, he said everybody has a plan until you get punched in the mouth, right? He said everybody got a plan until you get hit in the mouth. And I said, well, yeah. I said, but if I said, he said, everybody got a plan until you get hit in your mouth. I said, but if Mayweather's your coach, then you know what I'm saying? So you need to still talk to him. But it's like, and that's just real, it's just the reality of it. But I get the concept of what he's saying. It's like all of that goes out of the window when things go south. Now, everything you plan for is like, that's why, not to go on a tangent, but that's why I'm totally against paper trading, because there's no there anybody can hold a paper trade, because there's no there's no no money in it. So whereas there's no fear, there's nothing where your mind can get in the way, you know, because it's just a video game. It's like a video game at that point. So it doesn't help you at all. Do nothing but learn a platform. So it's just like, and then you're gonna have to get your feet wet. And but I like those types of questions, especially when the trade is going on. So like, let's say, you know, because then what that'll do is that'll reinforce me posting the chart, or one of my snipers will come and repost the chart because we got a market talk section where most of the time I already got the chart. We already reinforced the levels. I most of the time, and Christy, I think it was Christy. Yeah, I think most of the time what'll happen is I'll go on. Yeah, I see that you did just you literally just joined a little while ago. So so yeah, but a lot of times on stream, because I talk a whole lot on the stream, and that's a KK don't like when I get on stream because instead of taking a trade, I'm explaining these setups to the team and making sure they get what's going on. So it'll be a lot of times where we'll be on a stream, and as it's hitting these levels, I'm breaking it down and telling you what we're expecting and stuff like that. So if that's something that's going on, but yeah, but no, that was still a good question. Still a good question, and so yeah, but let me just move on because again, like I said, this was a big trade, and I just don't want stuff like this to happen. Because at the end of the day, no matter where you think you are as a trader, if you weren't in UNH, then you know you gotta just reevaluate. Be like, okay, he did tell us to hold it. I didn't do this. A lot of people told me that they were taking profit, but they didn't ask me if they should stay in. You know, I mean, my guy, James, he came in and spoke up about it, but you see what James doing, man. Like I said, another thing in here I want to tell y'all, two new people. You're gonna see some people in here posting big profits. You're gonna see people in here making a lot of money, but be careful trying to chase behind them because you don't know what type of money they're working with. You don't know. Like I said, James booked a 2 hour coaching and he got on the coaching. He had notes. He was ready. He was asking different types of questions. He was processing a lot of information, and he more so allowed me to coach him as opposed to coming there with what he wanted to do. You know what I mean? So it was easy. It was a great coaching. My best coachings are the ones where I already analyzed my traders. If I seen you trade and you've been around for a little while, I've already analyzed who I think you are as a trader, and I already see what you need to work on. I examine y'all contracts. If I can see the whole contract, I look at the Greeks on the contracts, see what y'all did, where you got out. And you know, like I break down all of that stuff in my free time. I'll be looking to see like, damn, they got out right there, or oh, this is where he got in at. You know, I'm looking at all of that stuff. So when certain people book the coaches, I'm like, I was waiting for you to come. I was waiting for you. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, but so don't try to mimic what you see other people doing. But you can ask questions. You can follow what's going on, and it's something for everybody here. Every trade isn't for everybody, also. But I do got some charts. I do got some. I don't. We don't have any economic data this week. We have like some manufacturing ISM. We don't have anything else right now. So and that's cool. I mean, we just came off of big a really big situation. And then we got CPI coming up, like, but not, you know what I'm saying? We got other stuff happening later, but we just came off of a really big jobs report, and the market it's in a position right now where it could. Let's just jump right into these charts. Let's jump right into these charts so I can just talk to it. And I got UNH up, but I don't want to start with UNH. I want to start with
The cues.
QQQ.
Yes.
QQQ. 1 second. Every chart tells a story. Hold on, because you missed the meeting. Sorry. There we go. Cool. So look, we had this. This is the rising wedge we were talking about last week or whatever, and you can see because the rising wedge is a bearish pattern. You know, you got the chart going up, and price comes out of it. So you see this was on Thursday, how we finished with a 222 reversal bearish engulfing, but it was still holding up over this support. So, although that rising wedge, I mean, and this could be moved if some people would do, like, if you want to turn it into a channel now, but I would say we had a rising wedge here. So we was just looking at the rising wedge. And it was still holding up here. So I'm like, but and I'm still holding 90 MA, everything. We got that gap down for that jobs report. That jobs report brought everything down. And so if you look at this right now, just looking at this chart, this is just a daily chart. So each candle represents 1 day of price action. It looks like it is not done going down. It doesn't look like it's done going down. Let's zoom out a little further. Look at the weekly. We got a bearish engulfing, 222 reversal, no, 223 reversal bearish engulfing on the weekly. Looks good, right? So it does look like it still has some downside in it, but we trade what the market gives us. So what I'm looking at here for QQQ, I mean, like just looking at it right now, like with my bare eyes, somebody asked me where is it going? Oh, it looked like it wants that 50 EMA. It looks like it wants the 50 EMA, but there are a few traffic lights before it gets there. So we're gonna just have to see what it says. And market doesn't move in one direction. We got pulses and waves. So just because it's headed down to the 50, that doesn't mean it's going straight there, right? So for a trade idea for QQQ, this is what I would do here. Under that 551.68, my first target would be that 550, that 550.21. So just call it 550. If it loses 550, then our next target would be 547.41. Under 547.41, we got the 50 EMA at 542.73. And that's where it looked like it's headed. Now, if we could get a bounce, we could get a bounce or whatever right now. Like I said, we lost that support level. Sometimes what'll happen is it'll go back up and retest that support level and then flush down. But if you want to trade calls on this, over I would trade calls over 559.02. Look for a move. My first target on this would be that 562.62, which lines up right there with the 9 EMA and the gap fill. So it's just like literally right up in that area. That would be my target. Now, for a reversal to the upside, because we can just get a bounce, but for a reversal, I would need it to close. I would need it to reclaim and close over this level right here again. I would need to, and give it a little margin, obviously, but just like I would need it to close over this level for a move to the upside. But it looked like it's not finished going down yet. So we may get like a dead cat bounce, but it looked like it wants to continue to the downside. IWM. So IWM, as you guys know, this is an ETF that tracks the Russell 2000, the small cap stocks, and damn, you saw how the price broke out of this wedge, and we got that continuation to the downside. It flushed it, and so I told y'all this before. We talked about this a few weeks ago. I said when there's turmoil in the market, the first stocks to get dumped, we was talking about it last week actually, last Sunday, are the small cap stocks because they don't have the market cap, they don't have the free cash flow to sustain when there's turmoil in the market. So they dump them first. And you see how hard this are, like QQQ and everything came down, but we got a little ways before they get to the 50. And this thing came all the way down, gap down, took out the 50, came back up, lost the 200 EMA, bounced off the bounced off the 200 EMA. So yeah, it's just it looked like it may have some more downside. Let's just see what's going on with this. That was a big flush that we could have been involved in. Nice 222 reversal here with a bearish engulfing also. So yeah, so we're gonna keep this one on watch also because why not? We should be watching this one. So I would say and that's a nice gap fill for the upside if it was to go upside on this one. So over 216.56, I would be looking for a move to 218.77 as my first target. And then we got a gap fill right here at 219.39 and so on to the downside. If we were to lose that 212.34. So 212.34, look for a move down to, yeah, I'll say if we lose 212, let's just say 212. It's just 212. Lose 212. The first target would be that 211.42. And if we and then below there, we'll probably go all the way down to that 208.26 and look like we'll see because they bought it up. They got it back up a little, but it's still under that 200 moving average. But if the market is bearish and they don't feel like and I don't feel like any of this stuff is oversold because everything ran up quite a bit. This wasn't the ETF did not hit all-time highs, but yeah, we'll just have to see what the price action is given with this. But we're gonna keep it on watch though. Spy, spy, air spy. Let me get this out of here for a second. So that broke down too, right? Similar to QQQ, right? But still not at its 200 EMA yet. Sec. Yeah, because I feel like with QQQ, I mean with yeah, QQQ is a much smoother ride down or up than SPY. You know, SPY has so many other sectors in it to that could because like there's always a bull market somewhere, right? So when these stocks coming down, you got other stocks that are going up, other sectors that are bullish, so it makes SPY a little of a less smoother ride to the downside if or to the upside when there's turmoil in the market. But right now, yeah, things looking like it's coming down. uh we right here at a level, but it's still, we lost the structure broke on this as well. So I'll say under 619.29. Target on this one would be 615. Under there, we got 611.87 and so on. Now, if we get a bounce, because we could, a few ways you can trade this. Like I always tell y'all, you can get a bounce off of the level because it closed over the support level. If you're looking at it right here, it reclaimed this support level and closed right there. We can get a bounce off that support level and you can play this up to that. I would play it up to that the 626, the 626. So like it'll bounce off of this. You can play it up to 626. But the trigger for calls would be that 626.34. First target would be 627.67. Second target would be 630.53 and so on. But yeah, this I don't know if the market is done coming down yet, man. It's just like we got a structural break on it and it needs to cool off a little bit anyhow. Meta platforms. Meta platforms is a really nice trade. So what I'm gonna tell y'all what I like about this. I mean, Meta ran up, hit new all-time highs, beat and raise on everything. They beat the daily active people. They got more people using these platforms than any other platforms in any other platform in the world. Um, the ads like the CapEx spend, they lowered CapEx spend. That was a really big part because Mark Zuckerberg is not afraid and very transparent about how much money they're spending for AI, for this AI initiative. But Mark Zuckerberg said that they cut a lot of the spending and a lot of but they didn't cut a lot of spending. A lot of money is going into the AI efforts, right? And for the future. But they took a lot because a lot of money was going into reality labs. The reality lab section is where the metaverse and all of that was being done, and there's other stuff. But then we had a lot of revenue coming in from the Meta AI. But a lot of the money they cutting back on things, and a lot of money going to the employees. They've been out there poaching talent. So and so it's bullish. I mean, and I feel like they were very afraid because Mark Zuckerberg told us last quarter how much they were going to spend, and they cut that a little bit. So stock ran off of that. They beat EPS revenue and got it up. Everything was bullish about it, and so I'm looking forward to what the stock has. But the ad revenue and how much money that we're going to be more money we'll be able to generate from ads using AI. It's just like the sky's the limit. So Meta is looking great. So I like this retest here. So Meta came back down here, retested previous all-time high level, bounced off that level. It finished here. I'm not saying that it's not bearish still, because the market comes down, it's gonna come down. But look, here's the weekly. closed over this level, over the previous all-time high. So it's still holding up pretty well. And we still finished the week extremely bullish here on Meta. I love the way the stock is looking right now. I like the way it broke down. So we're going to pay attention to it because it looks great here. So, but we do have some levels. We got to have levels, right? And so what I would do here for Meta, because this is a very it's a pretty big range here on Meta. I'll say over 766 for Meta, then my target would be that 774, 78. And over there, then obviously we got the all-time high. But these are big moves for the stock right now. If we lose that 740, if we lose seven if we lose that 745.31, then we got 741.26, 735.88, and so on. So we got some levels, but it would be really nice if Meta held this level because the fact that why did they hold this level? Why did they hold this level when it just could have it gapped down? It could have just flushed. Why did it hold the previous all-time high? Why did they hold that level? Because there's a lot of interest right there, and there are a lot, and bulls were defending it. So we're gonna, yeah. So we're gonna see what happens. This could be a good trade either way. Meta gonna give you a nice move either way. So keep this one on watch. Keep this one on watch. A pretty big move, pretty big trade. Tesla, Tesla. Tesla, look, structure still intact. Although look, the market's been crazy. We got this structural setup here that we had intact for a little while. It's still holding up pretty well. And so this was the flush here on what day was this? Thursday, and this was the jobs report. So we already came, because on Thursday morning, the this was right after Meta earnings, right? So um, Tesla came up here, hit the non-moving average, rejected off that, came down, lost the 50, lost this support level, closed under the support level, came down here, and finished here. So you see how low we got on the stock, right? So the structure it was breaking down, but then it came back up here and it closed back over this level here. So we're gonna keep Tesla on watch. I mean, we did get some bearishness on here, but I like this stock around this 200 EMA. I like it around there, and so what we'll do is for Tesla, we just gonna keep it on watch because there are a few things that this stock can do, and what they do with Tesla a lot. You just gotta really pay attention to how with the price action, what the story tells you in the chart. This stock could have dropped a lot lower. They missed earnings, they missed guidance, and it's just a lot of they even missed the margins. There's a lot of bad things going on with Tesla right now, and and with Elon. So this stock could have dropped a lot lower, I feel, under the circumstances, right? But it didn't. Like Tesla's, I feel like, they like it around this area. It's been very bullish. Bulls been defending this 300 area pretty well the last few times, right? So we'll keep it on watch. But yeah, I'll say you can play this a few ways if you're going to play calls on it. If watch it around this 300, if it bounce, you will see what's happening. If it bounce around this, you can play the bounce and play it up to the gap fill area, because we got a gap fill right here at 308.27. You can play it off the bounce if you get one of those, and obviously look for something on a lower time frame. But just for you wait for the trigger for calls over 309.31. You can play it, and the target would be 312.83. And then from there, you got 314.95, 315.91, 317.69. You got some targets. And we still in this wedge though. Tesla hasn't been able to break out of this wedge, but it ain't break down either, right? To the downside, if we lose 297.82, it's been playing around that area a lot. So if it lose that level, I'm gonna put something else here because I don't think we should just be going straight down, straight to hell if we lose that level right there, right? So I'm bad. So I'm just gonna add another level here, right here where this gap fill area is. So if we lose that, then our target would be this 293.91. Then under there, we got that 287.87. But yeah, I think they'll probably buy Tesla up again here unless the market comes down. Why we gonna watch the market, man? Like I said, structures have been broken, so we'll see what happens there on this stock right here. Roku. This is Kwame stock right here. Roku. We ain't forget. We never forgot. This was your stock. But so we got yeah, Roku, man. They had Roku, this Roku print confuses me a little bit, man. I'm gonna tell you why, because Roku, they beat, and the guy was a little weird, right? But we they did beat. So um that it was just, yeah, the market came down, they beat. I mean, I'm cool. It was fine, but I'm a little weirded out about what happened with this one. I feel like they found the company was finally profitable. They haven't been profitable, so now they're finally profitable. I feel like they at some point they're gonna buy this up and it's gonna go higher because it's finally profitable. But for right now, trade I did lost to 50 and it looked like it's headed towards the 200 EMA. So under 79.05, the first target would be that 78.72. Then we got 76.78. Now we possibly bounce right there. That's what I'll be looking for. But if not, we got a ways down to go here. So I'm not even gonna put another target there. You know how I feel about putting like placeholder targets there. I don't do that. If we lose that 200 EMA and we got volume, it's going down there to 71.75, right? So now to the upside over 85.46, we got a gap fill. We got a nice gap fill. But before there, we got that non-EMA. Because it plays a lot. If you look at how Roku's been moving, it's been using the non-EMA as some sort of support, right, to the upside on this. So it may use it as a resistance. It may reject off of it. So we're gonna keep an eye on that too. So over the 85.46, my first target would be, well, I'm gonna give it another target and then we'll put something else in there first. I'm gonna throw another target in there. So yeah, so we got that 88.61, and then I'll go straight up to the 90.74, and then so on for this one. So, but watch it. I mean, it's in a a situation right now where we could but yeah, the whole market is just looking a little weird right now. But at least we got a direction on it. So here is Wayfair. This is the Wayfair chart right here. Let me go to the weekly for a second to show y'all the weekly chart on Wayfair. This is Wayfair. They report tomorrow morning before the open, and it hasn't been able to break out of this range for a while, and it's right here. We're going to see what happens with it. Came up here, rejected this, and it's one of those stocks where, they don't have good earnings a lot, and a lot of times it trades in the middle. It's time for it to do something now. And so, yeah. So, but I would say, I'm just saying, keep Roku on watch. It's a few, I'm gonna mark some levels on the chart and give y'all some, it's a few things that it could possibly do to either side, right? But I like what I'm seeing on it on the stock. I like the setup on it. I like the movement that it's been making so far. Like you see the uptrend, it's been making a pretty big move, for a company that was supposed to be going out of business, right? But yeah, so what I would do is over 65.41, you can play to see we got a top of this because I told you it's been having trouble up here at this wedge. So, but yeah, some say over this level, look for another move back up here first because I'm just gonna say play it up to this level. But yeah, because we wanted to break because it can break out of this and still come back down without, we've had a few times where that's happened. But I'm gonna just say it should have the momentum it need at this point. So over 65.41, my first target would be 68.47. Then we got the 71.33 and so on, right? To the downside, if we lose that 62.39, we got, well, I'm gonna say if we lose 62.14, we lose 62.14, the move would be down to 60.23, and then we got 56. So I'm taking you all the way down, right? 56.47. So it'll probably get defended there. If not, we go into the 50 EMA. But yeah, keep this one on watch. Like I said, here's the weekly chart. Here's the monthly chart that just started. But this will be a good reversal for this stock, man. It's been in this downtrend for a while, and so it's been quietly trying to make a move to the upside. So we'll see what the margins look like tomorrow and go from there. I'm gonna hit this stock. Hold on one second.
Hmm.
Oh, you know what? As a matter of fact, the other stocks that I'm actually gonna hit, I'm gonna save them for our team, like I did last week with a few stocks. So yeah, that's all I'm gonna cover for now in terms of stocks on far as charts on this meeting. But I do have a few uh bangers for market talk that I'll be posting for the team. Thank y'all for y'all time. We are over, but we needed that market talk, man. We ain't had one in a while. We had to just reinforce what we do around here. I see you guys tomorrow. Let's look for a great month. And yeah, like I'm looking forward to a great month of August. Cheers.
Thank you so much.
Thank
No
you. Have a
problem.
good
Thanks,
day.
Appreciate you for
Antoine.
your time,
Thank
bro.
you
Have
the
a
rest of the
good day.
afternoon, bro.
No problem.
Thank you. Market talk.